A very good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Meera Swaminathan, and I'm the Director, Policy Advocacy and Communications at Broadband India Forum. On behalf of BIF, I welcome you all to our post-AGM event, which is the release of the research paper on digital infrastructure, investing in the future of a Viksit Bharat. Charting a clear path for India's robust and resilient digital infrastructure, BIF is pleased to release the comprehensive research paper titled Digital Infrastructure Investing in the Future of Viksit Bharat. The report is prepared by the Quantum Hub for one of BIF's specialist committees. The paper emphasizes the pivotal role of a resilient digital infrastructure in facilitating widespread, reliable, and sustainable internet access for all, which is a cornerstone for inclusive digital growth in India. It clearly highlights that a robust digital infrastructure comprises of three interconnected components: the backbone, which includes the high-capacity fiber optic cables; the middle mile, which includes the data centers and content delivery networks and internet exchange points; and the last mile, which is wireless and wireline connectivity. Strengthening these elements is crucial for achieving universal connectivity and enhancing user experience and supporting India's ambitious goal of $1 trillion economy by 2027 and Viksit Bharat status by 2047. With that, I am happy to invite BIF's chairperson, Srimati Aruna Sundararajan, to provide the welcome address and introductory remarks for the session. Aruna ma'am has served as the Secretary to the Government of India, the Ministries of Steel, IT, Telecom, and retired chairperson of the DCC in July 2019. During her tenure, Aruna ma'am played a pivotal role in steering various important tech policies and initiatives across domains of telecom and hardware manufacturing, digital payments, data protection, cyber security, and tech startups. Over to you, ma'am.
Dear Shri Dev Kumar Chakrabarti, DG of the National Communications Academy, Shri Rajesh Kumar Soni, DDG Carrier Services DOT, distinguished members of the industry from Exitel and Extreme Labs, Brigadier Anil Tandon, DG BIF, and other esteemed guests from government, industry, and fellow members from the BIF. At the outset, a very good afternoon to all of you. It is indeed a proud occasion for all of us in BIF to have gathered here for the release of a well-researched white paper prepared by the Quantum Hub entitled Digital Infrastructure Investing in the Future for a Viksit Bharat, in conjunction with contributions by other BIF members and the BIF Directorate. So, first of all, let me extend my heartfelt congratulations to the authors and contributors of this paper. As you're all aware, the subject of fixed broadband and its growth has been one of the thrust areas of the government today, and also that of the BIF. We all know that 80% of the data that we consume is when we are stationary and not when we are moving. We also know that average per capita data consumption on the mobile broadband is around 20 GB per month as per TRAI. However, the average data consumption as far as the fixed broadband connection in India is concerned, it is almost 10 times higher, of the order of 200 GB in India and several folds higher in the developed West. In fact, yesterday I was at an AI conference where the CEO of NVIDIA was addressing an audience in Mumbai, and there was a fireside chat with Mr. Mukesh Ambani. And so Mr. Mukesh Ambani was saying that in India, we are expecting that by the end of 2025, we would actually be generating around 17 to 18 exabytes of data. As you know, 1 exabyte is 1 trillion gigabytes. So that is the current consumption level, and it's possible that if fixed broadband goes up, this may actually go up. So as the country becomes more digital, we know that a robust digital infrastructure is going to be pivotal to establish the Viksit Bharat and to achieve all the goals that we have set for ourselves. The pandemic demonstrated to all of us how our lives are changing and how it is essential for all service providers to provide high capacity and reliable internet, because we have become so dependent on the internet for almost all of our daily needs, and also for our education, for our learning, for our knowledge, and of course for staying connected. This shift in consumer behavior is interesting because it was not confined only to the urban areas, but was actually seen everywhere, including the rural areas, where in fact people are even more dependent on the internet. So this is a common myth that maybe we need fixed broadband, etc., in the urban areas. But no, as we all know by now, fixed broadband, etc., is even more imperative in the rural areas in the absence of other kinds of physical infrastructure, which we have in the urban areas. A recent report from Open Vault in the US reveals that the average internet user consumes about 640 GB per month on their home internet plan. And this is going up exponentially month on month, not even year on year. Especially with the kind of new chips that are coming, the graphics, the 3D, and so on, you can imagine that, in fact, so projections suggest that by the end of this year itself, an average household will utilize about 700 GB. And with power users, those who are consuming over 1 terabyte per month, comprising more than 20% of households. So it's not the demand side that's the problem, it is the supply side that will be constraining this number, if at all. This emphasizes the need for stable, reliable, high bandwidth internet access in households, which can be provided only through a combination of FTTH and modern and advanced Wi-Fi 6E and 7. As per homegrown studies by ICRIER, it is broadly estimated that a 10% increase in broadband penetration can lead to an approximate 3.3 to 3.2 increase in GDP. In fact, yesterday, Mr. Mukesh Ambani was saying that a rough back of the envelope indicates that roughly anywhere between 500 to 700 billion is the contribution to the GDP from the digital ecosystem. As we target our digital economy to grow to the 1 trillion USD mark, it may actually be an underestimation. If things proceed at the current rate, it may even be more. We therefore need high quality fixed broadband penetration both in the urban and rural areas. This is a cause that has been very dear to BIF, and at every fora, BIF has been trying to propagate and advocate the need for all players in the ecosystem, including those agencies who are involved in construction of roads, those who are involved in construction of buildings, for everyone to come together and acknowledge that we need an enabling regulatory environment which will enable access to this kind of broadband. So we have to catch up with our global peers. We cannot any longer say that while we are doing so well on the mobile broadband, that may not be enough in future. Therefore, we have to recall here that in the West, there are about 35 fixed broadband connections for every 100 persons. In India, we have only about 3 fixed broadband connections per 100 people. This shows there is an urgent need to rapidly, for the ecosystem to come together, have an action plan, and systematically execute that action plan. So one component is to emphasize the expansion of internet exchange points to enhance low latency and affordability. So hence the paper that is being released today, and you're going to hear from the authors in much greater detail, outlines not only the challenges we face today in enhancing fixed broadband penetration, but also goes on to list practical, actionable steps that we as a nation need to take to move to a more connected and inclusive India. It also emphasizes the need for collaborative action, because unless we have all actors and all players coming together, we will not be able to achieve the goals in this area. We need innovation, we need access, and we need a sustainable model that will deliver the kind of digital services that are currently coming online. So once again, with these remarks, let me thank our chief guests who are here today, as well as the authors of the paper, and each and every one of you for being here, joining us here today as we move to the next program of hearing from the authors and then the release. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am, for the excellent introductory speech and context setting. We agree that as the country becomes more digital, especially post-pandemic, a robust digital infrastructure is absolutely essential. We now move on to the second part of the session, which is a fireside chat between experts from the industry, which is Mr. Ronak Maheshwari, who's the Executive Director of Extreme IX, and Mr. Vivek Raina, CEO, Excitel Broadband. This fireside chat is being moderated by Mr. Debashish Bhattacharya, Senior DDG Broadband India Forum. I invite Mr. Ronak, Mr. Vivek, and Mr. Debashish on stage. Over to you, Devu sir, to introduce the speakers and moderate the session.
Thank you, Meera. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. It's my pleasure to introduce to you two of the most enterprising and dynamic broadband leaders of the country. I have to my extreme left, is Mr. Vivek Raina. He's the CEO of Excitel Broadband. Let me give you a brief introduction about Mr. Raina. He's the co-founder and CEO of Excitel Broadband and combines a robust educational foundation with extensive experience in the telecom sector. He started his career in 2001 at Hathway as a business development officer and then transitioned to Reliance in 2004, assuming roles of increasing responsibility, including wireline broadband rollout manager, showcasing his prowess in sales and critical operations within the telecom domain. In 2008, he rejoined Hathway as a business leader for North India before moving to Broadband PaceNet in 2009, where he excelled as a regional head for North and Central India. In 2015, Vivek ji co-founded Excitel Broadband, leveraging his diverse expertise to propel the company to industry prominence. To my immediate left, I would like to introduce Mr. Ronak Maheshwari, CEO Extreme IX. He brings with him extensive experience and a passion for improving internet connectivity in India. As director of Extreme Labs India, he's committed to advancing wireline broadband penetration across the country. His work includes the development of IXPs and other initiatives that have made a meaningful impact on the sector. With over 15 years of experience spanning research, development, and leadership, Ronak ji has previously contributed to institutions such as ETRI, South Korea, and British Telecom. He continues and has a passion to advocate for innovation and inclusivity within the broadband industry. With this introduction out of the way, we now get into the fireside chat, for which I presume I have the liberty of taking 20 minutes. Thank you. I am, by the way, the moderator of the session. My name is Debashish Bhattacharya, Senior DDG Broadband India Forum. So my first question is to Shri Vivek Raina ji. We are today talking about need for growing fixed broadband, fiber-based fixed broadband in the country. We are, of course, as we all know, are a mobile-first country, and we have grown mobile broadband to a significant level. However, if we want to become what we are planning to, or what we are aiming to become, a Viksit Bharat, we need to have sufficient growth in fixed broadband. Given that we have about 6 to 8% only in terms of household coverage for fiber-based fixed broadband, and we need to reach 110 million households by 2030 as per the government plan, what do you think the government should do, and as well as the private sector should do, to ensure that we are able to meet the target in the next 5 years? Thank you.
Hi, so first and foremost, thanks for having me here. Most of the points were covered by Madam in her address, and we have been propagating this at every fora. Recently, I was speaking at Mobile Congress, IMC, and I said, we don't have a wireline Congress, therefore I have to come and speak at Mobile Congress. That tells you the state of our policy makers, industry, as well as the market, that we have always paid impetus to mobile, and in the process we have completely sort of I would say neglected to a great extent wireline broadband. Probably the thinking in the policy circles was that we can shortcut it, like we did with the landline telephones. We didn't need landline telephones, we straight away went to mobile. Probably in policy circles it was that we might not need to do the difficult work of digging roads and pulling fiber to each and every household, and mobile might we might have a technology in future which will shortcut this, but unfortunately it has not happened. It has not happened anywhere in the world. Wherever we have had 5G or even small deployments of 6G, wireline broadband, fiber broadband has continued to exist. The need for fiber broadband continues to exist, and both these technologies are complementing each other in a great extent. We have seen in Korea, for example, where almost each and every household is connected to fiber, and also they have 5G from many years now, and also some test deployments of 6G are there, and Ronak, I know, was there working on those technologies. There also it's clear now to the policy makers and to the government and to the regulators that wireline broadband, fiber broadband is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. You might bring in any G. See, the problem fundamentally is physics, as probably Ronak will tell you better. The greater the frequency, the less the amplitude. It is pure physics. That means the ability of the wave to penetrate the walls decreases as much as you increase the frequency. So 2G worked very well inside our homes, 3G was a bit bad, 4G was very bad, 5G is worst. If you look at your mobile phones, you'll see 4G inside your homes or 3G at some point of time. Yeah, and what they have now done, probably telcos, a smart thing is to offload everything to Wi-Fi. Wherever they find Wi-Fi, they offload their connectivity through Wi-Fi. So that tells you it's not going to be replaced. That means for us in India, we need to do the hard work. There's no shortcut. And probably I think post-COVID, all the companies specifically, and probably even the government and the regulators have realized this. In COVID, I used to say in Excital Broadband, when we started in 2015, every sale used to be a concept sale. You had to tell a prospective customer, why wireline, how is it better than Geo, for example. This concept sale had to be done. But post-COVID, you didn't have to do that. COVID did that concept selling for us. They understood that for things on the go, small clip watching or small videos, mobile is okay. But when you want to do bandwidth intensive work, like work from home, study from home, or probably entertainment is the biggest use case, binge watch your series or watch your movies, there's no way you can rely on mobile broadband. And therefore, there's no wonder that there is never a TV invented with a SIM tray till now. There's no TV with a SIM tray. Why? Because it's not meant for that. It's not meant for high bandwidth intensive applications. That's not what mobile broadband is meant for. Every TV now has a Wi-Fi connectivity. So it's meant to go through wireline. As simple as that. So therefore, I think for India specifically, we understood that and as Madam rightly said, it's not demand side constraint, it's the supply side constraint. Till very recently, biggest telcos in India, for example, Airtel is one of the biggest telcos, and they started wireline broadband in 2015. I remember very well because I appeared in an interview, they didn't select me, fine. So, yeah, in 2015, I'm sorry, it's 2007 or 8 that they started, yeah. And so for 15 years, they were connecting only 20% of Delhi. It's only post-COVID they started connecting the whole of Delhi. Why? Because there was this thing that you can go to structured parts of urban India very easily. Every telco, every ISP wanted to serve structured parts of urban India because we are talking about wireline broadband here, where you have to pull physical wire to each and every household. So, and it's very safe to do it in structured parts of urban India, where you have backlanes, you have shafts, you have, place to pull the wire, and your wire is safe. So that was another constraint because urban India is mostly unstructured. For example, if you look at Delhi, 20-25% of Delhi is structured, well done, but 70% of people don't live there. 70% of people live in places like Shadra, like Uttam Nagar, and nobody thought about them. And that's when we came into the picture, and we thought it's not just telcos who have to do it. If we, through our technology, can bring in world-class wireline fiber-to-home broadband to unstructured parts of urban India, there's a great market there. Because everybody needs entertainment. They might not be interested so much in productivity after working hard at all through the day, but they want entertainment. And broadband now is primary source of entertainment in a household. It's not cable TV anymore. It's now broadband. And therefore, the whole market opens up, and therefore 70% of urban India needs to be covered, which nobody was thinking about. And still, telcos are not comfortable going there. But then that's where we leveraged our business model and our technology. And as coming back to your question, how to do it, I don't think any one company or any two companies, even if they may be colossal in the size and resources, can do it. We're talking about connecting, as Madam rightly said, 3 in 100 to 1300. It's a massive amount of work to be done, and I think many ISPs would take to do it. And it's not just ISPs. I think the whole ecosystem has to be empowered to do it. For example, in our business model, we use local cable operator very effectively. We set standard of service, we set benchmark of the way they have to do work, guide them through technology. It's like an Uber driver connected to Uber mainframe. Similarly, we have made IT so strong that they have to adhere to quality of service. And once they do that, it's very easy rollout. For example, just to give you an example, an internal thing, I think my board doesn't kill me for this. We have today, Excel Broadband has 1 million users cross country. 500,000 in Delhi. Totally, we have 1 million users in around 22 cities. And it's wireline, going physically, it's 100% fiber to home, going to each and every household. Total investment gone to the company is 150 crores. Total. It doesn't take much. You have to be smart in your business model. You have to be smart in choosing your partners. It doesn't take much. And you have to empower the ecosystem. I think that's the only way to do it in India. Otherwise, you will be, again, in bits and pockets, looking at big players to do it. It's not going to happen through it.
Thank you, Vivekji. That was very enlightening. Thank you so much. I now, my next question is to Mr. Ronak. Mr. Ronak, you are aware of BharatNet. Who is not in this room? The BharatNet program now has moved on in phase 3 from connecting Gram Panchayats, which it has achieved to about 75-80%, and balance is about to be connected, hopefully in the next few months, before the end of the financial year, as per the government target. We are now moving to phase 3, which is to connect the balance 6.5 or 4 lakh villages, so that we cover all 6.5 lakh villages which exist in the country through fiber by 2027, as per government targets. Sir can correct me if I'm wrong. My question is, how can private companies and the government collaborate more effectively to ensure that BharatNet achieves its target of connecting 6.5 lakh villages in the rural areas in time and how can we replicate that success model or the model of success for other large-scale projects that may come up in future?
I would like to change the goals here. Honestly speaking, connecting Gram Panchayats is, the idea of the project was long back, and requirement of internet has moved beyond that, significantly beyond that. So to start answering the question and why what I'm saying is important. So I would like to start with digital exclusion figures in the country. Debashish sir, 20 minutes is not going to be enough. So you'll have to adjust on the next sessions, or we may have to go over. But yeah, for digital exclusion in the country, only 9% students in the country, and I'm talking about all the students, right, from primary to postgraduate, only 9% students in the country have access to a dedicated internet-connected device. Only 25% students in the country have some access to internet, maybe a computer in the library, maybe one device in the family, etc., etc. Are we, with such digital exclusion figures in our next generation who are students, are we enabling them to be able to compete with their global peers? We have China, whom we really say that we want to compete with China. We have Korea, we have Taiwan, we have South Africa, we have Brazil, and there is already North America, Western Europe, and Eastern Europe. So when our next generation comes, start into serious careers, will they be able to compete with this kind of digital exclusion? And this is in next 5 years I'm talking about. So to change the project goals, I mean, I'm going to talk about that, okay, while government is investing heavily into connecting Gram Panchayats, but this has gone beyond that. The requirement of internet has gone beyond connecting Gram Panchayats. We need wireline broadband connected to each and every household of the country within the next 5 years. And okay, now the question is how to do it. While the goalpost is clear, the question is how to do it. What happened in last year is India passed a new Telecom Act, Indian Telecommunication Act 2023. And I don't know how many of you have really actually heard the parliamentary discussion while the act was being introduced. But I have certain quotes here, about 7-8 of them. I'll start with what the minister, while introducing the act in the Lok Sabha, he said. He spoke in Hindi. Everybody here is comfortable with Hindi. Okay. So he says, Sabhapati ji, this is the Lok Sabha speaker, सभापति जी, टेलीकॉम सेक्टर आज एक बहुत ही अच्छा सनराइज सेक्टर बनकर उभरा है, जिस सेक्टर से देश की अर्थव्यवस्था में ज़बरदस्त मोमेंटम आता है. आज उस सेक्टर को एक नई गति देने के लिए बड़े स्ट्रक्चरल रिफॉर्म्स वाला यह बिल इस महान सदन में प्रस्तुत है. The important point here is that the legislative intent of this bill is to have significantly major structural reforms. Again, going ahead, he says, आज करीब करीब 100 से अधिक प्रकार के लाइसेंस होते हैं. उनको बहुत ही सहज भाव से सरल तरीके से ठीक करके सारे लाइसेंस की जगह एक सिंपल ऑथराइजेशन वाला स्ट्रक्चर इस बिल के माध्यम से लाया गया है. Simple authorization structure. This is what the intention of this act is. This is the minister himself while introducing the act says in the parliament. There are about 5-7 more parliamentarians whom I can quote, but see, basically the summary of this legislative intent is 1, major structural reforms, 2, simplification of licensing or rather authorization procedures, 3, increasing affordability, 4, increasing digital inclusion. Everybody in the room, are we agreeing to this legislative intent? If we are, then I can proceed to explaining why legislative intent is important. And what exactly does it mean? So, India is a parliamentary democracy. Whatever is spoken in the parliament while the act is discussed and debated forms legislative intent. Nobody in the country can misalign with legislative intent. Is this clear? I mean, everybody understands this thing. So now we have urgency of connecting all the homes in the country to wireline broadband. We have legislative intent which says that yes, we are enabling you to do it. Now what stops us from doing this thing? It's about thinking out of the box for the regulations that existed since last 30 years and thinking why they have not been able to deliver. I'll give you certain more data points. About 65% households in the country are connected on pay TV. They are paying approximately 350 to 500 rupees per pay TV connection. Why can we not have regulations which enable within the same price delivery of wireline broadband? We can do it. All we need is the ministries to converge, figure out how to reduce costs and taxes across the entire spectrum, and we will be able to roll out wireline. The demand will be able to generate the demand from so many households. These are already paying. There are 65% households in the country who are paying approximately 350 to 500 rupees per month for entertainment. We just need to figure out how to converge the ministries, how to have broadcasters plus internet service providers converge services with each other so that they are able to deliver these services at a price point which is acceptable. It's very simple. We need regulatory simplification. And yes, recently TRI, we discussed in the previous sessions the TRI consultation paper for service authorizations and the recent one that has been for network authorizations that has been released. A lot of industry experts did say about having this major structural reforms in the various, in the response to the consultation paper, in counter comments, and also in open house discussions. However, what we see, and maybe I'm offending somebody, but I'm very sorry to say this, but what we see is only incremental change. So while the legislature on one hand is asking you to do major structural reforms, but on the other hand, what we see is the recommendations only mentioning incremental reforms. That is not going to work. So what we are saying to our children is, okay, we were not able to do anything in the Industrial Revolution because Britishers are ruling us. But today, while the legislature is intending major structural reforms, but for legacy reasons, we are continuing to not give you that opportunity so that to be able to compete with your peers in the global arena. So what it needs to be done is simplification, real simplification of regulations.
Thank you, Ronak-ji. That was quite enlightening. For paucity of time, I would request we have one more round of questions, but we'll like to request you to kindly keep the answers brief. My next question goes in the second round to Mr. Vivek Raina. India is a mobile-first country. I don't want to repeat it. China was also a mobile-first country in 2012, but today China is no more a mobile-first country. I'm not saying we should emulate China, but China's fixed broadband density is 44%, whereas we are way behind. We're lagging at about 6 to 8%. What are your thoughts around it? How do you think we can catch up, or we can even exceed them, if that is the goal?
I'm still reeling under impact of Ronak's impassioned this. All right. So I think China has moved quite ahead. I think even if you look at your next door neighbors, Bangladesh has a better per capita penetration of wireline broadband compared to India. Sri Lanka has done better. Nepal, of all countries, has done better than India in terms of per capita penetration of wireline broadband. So yeah, I mean, China for sure we understand because we have been studying what they did. It was simple that they paid attention to the basic grassroots thing. They said, okay, like they did in everything. That's the policy of Chinese Communist Party. They didn't send their team to Olympics for 10 or 15 years. They said, unless and until we groom them right from childhood and then, make them really world class, then we'll send them. There's no point doing incremental things, as Ronak said. Yeah. Similarly with their wireline broadband, they said, okay, once they realized that mobile is not good enough, mobile is not going to give us GDP growth, as Madam rightly said. There's a World Bank study, and I happened to speak to the gentleman who authored that report in the World Bank, Brazilian gentleman. He actually did it in 20-25 countries and saw there's a direct correlation between the penetration of wireline broadband and GDP growth of the country. It's like around 2.5-3% growth with 10% increase in penetration of wireline broadband. It's not same with mobile. It's not same with mobile. They did that also. Does mobile lead to GDP growth? It was 0.2 or 0.3%, while as wireline was around 3%. So they understood it back then, and they paid attention to this. There was a universal fund which was given to private players there to execute this project, and meticulously, city by city, municipality by municipality, village by village, they either did it themselves in the government, companies, or enabled private players to do it. One or two, they were funding to do it. While as in India, we're taxing it like tobacco. so we have 18% GST, then we have 8% AGR, it's go to 26%. So we're not actually enabling, we are trying our best not to enable. So just being blunt here, this is what it is. So and we have been pleading, and BIF has been pleading for years to the government to simplify this regime. But obviously it takes time for things to move. Having said that, I think if we have to not just emulate China, any Southeast Asian country or even Far Eastern Asian country who have done well in broadband penetration, there was focus of the regulator to make it happen. There was focus of the government to fund it. Forget everything. During COVID, Americans again deployed, I don't know exactly how much was the fund, again to the private players for increasing penetration of wireline broadband in United States. They said it's not good enough right now. It was like 5 years back, during COVID times, I think 4 years there. They again, I don't exactly remember, it was like $10-12 billion they gave to private players there for increasing penetration of wireline broadband. I think there has to be this regulator, government and private players. All of them together have to sit and understand first what is the goal, where do we want to be 10 years down the line, because these are vital infrastructure projects. Just to give you an example, we, as I said, have 500,000 users in Delhi NCR. For that we run core, that is backend fiber of around 7,000 kilometers. And excess fiber is 25,000 kilometers. So 7 plus 25,000 is like 33,000 kilometers we have to maintain in Delhi NCR to connect our users. So imagine what you need to do to connect the country. Yeah. So it's not something that can be done by one player. It's not something that can be done by even big corporation if they have billions in their coffers. I think, again, as I said, government has to step in with funds and with way forward, and also regulator. All of us together can do it. Nobody can do it in isolation, that's for sure. That's what China model tells us. That's real GDP growth. That's where it will come from. That's how you can make real Viksit Bharat. Otherwise, we are doing incremental things, as Ronak said. It's not going to be real transformative. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek ji. That was very insightful. Ronak ji, the last question goes to you. And this is on the same topic, where we are talking of digital infrastructure. We need to go to Viksit Bharat by 2047. We need to cover a lot of underserved and unserved areas. How can the government policy what kind of policy changes could be there which can help attract more investment into digital infrastructure, particularly in the rural and remote areas of this country, to make it truly a Viksit Bharat?
I would continue from the legislative intent. So, Parliament has directed and given guidelines saying that you need to simplify. And to make some more data points, why this simplification is really necessary. In India, we have 1,500 plus population centers which have 50,000 plus households. I mean, if you want to supply broadband to all these 50,000 households, you need to create significantly high capacity mid-mile infra. You need to have data centers, you need to have CDNs deployed, you need to have internet exchanges in this 1,500 locations. Now this is, currently today we have, for example, internet exchanges in 75 towns, thanks to Nixie expanding to 75 cities in the last 2 years. But really speaking, internet exchanges are only in the metro cities. So we have 6 metro cities. Now we need to expand from 6 metro cities to 1,500. Now, prevalence of CDNs is also in the 6 metro cities. So we need to create an ecosystem, regulatory environment so simple that people are able to easily do business in so many locations. And we are in a very nascent stage. Regulating anything at nascent stage is only going to kill it. It is not going to help it grow. So I'm just talking about mid-mile infra. I mean, Vivek mentioned about the last mile access, whatever has to be done in these centers. I mean, a significant investment has to come in. But why will somebody invest when there is significantly high regulation? So sometimes people say that national security is one of the reasons why even small ISPs have to comply with so many things. I would give an example of Israel. Israel has similar national security implications like India has, right? But in Israel, wireline broadband providers do not have licenses to take or permissions to take or even authorizations to take. It's a simple authorization structure, rule-based, that if you're doing this business, you need to adhere to these policies. Government has invested in significantly in the security apparatus. So all the logs, all the storage capabilities have been created by the government. The ISPs have to simply integrate with the APIs that the government has created. Why do you are wanting to burden the small internet service providers who is providing probably 3,000 broadband connections in some remote village to have IPDR logs for 2 years, to have LIM deployed, which is expensive? If we simplify all these things, only then we will see investments coming in, the kind of investments that Vivek says that we as a country would need to expand to so many houses. Only then they will come in. Only then the demand will be, affordability will increase. Only then we will be able to supply. Otherwise, this is just an incremental change. We are just praising ourselves in front of each other, saying that, okay, we did this. From the renaming or doing a control F for the word license, renaming it to authorization, changing a few structures here and there and saying that, yeah, this is the new recommendation. I'm sorry to say, I don't want to offend. I am just wanting to point out that there is urgent necessity of connecting all households in the country to wireline broadband. Otherwise, our coming generations will definitely be behind their peers globally. Do we want that?
Thank you, Raunakji. Very brutally honest view of what government should be doing to make sure that we reach this milestone, and so that we can have a very golden future and we can really call ourselves a truly Viksit and a Bharat and a fully developed, one of the developed economies of the world. Thank you very much. I think with this we come to the end of our fireside chat. I'm sorry we have extended the time a little longer than what it was scheduled for. I now hand over back to Meera. Thank you.
Thank you all for the wonderful session. I request you to stand together for a photograph. Yeah. Thank you. We now move on to the next part of the session, which will involve the release of the report. And before we go there, let me explain the structure of this particular session. First, we will have the presentation and key highlights of the paper by Mr. Sumesh Srivastava, Senior Manager, the Quantum Hub. And then we will have the special address by Mr. Rajesh Kumar Soni, DDG, Department of Telecommunication, Ministry of Communications, Government of India. Then we will be releasing the paper. And last but not the least, we will have Shri Deb Kumar Chakrabarti, Director General, National Communications Academy, DOT, Ministry of Communications, Government of India, to give the keynote address. Before that, and as my team is setting up the stage, I thought I'll introduce the speakers as well as the dignitaries on stage. Sumesh is a lawyer by training with a decade of experience in research and policy development at TQH. His work primarily involves technology policy encompassing data protection, privacy, telecom regulation, and AI. Sumesh's work is centered around enhancing the access to technology, information, digital rights, with a strong interest in exploring the intersections between technology, law, and society. Mr. Rajesh Kumar Soni, DDG, Department of Telecommunication, Ministry of Communications, is a telecommunications professional with over 25 years of experience in DOT and BSNL. He has worked in areas such as network expansion, customer satisfaction, and managed major projects, including the rollout of 3G networks. Most recently, as the Director and Deputy General at DOT, he has contributed to policy formation and enhanced telecom connectivity in remote areas like Manipur and Tripura. Currently, he oversees long-distance network policy and manages critical infrastructure permissions. Mr. Deb Kumar Chakrabarti, DG, National Communications Academy, has a strong background in telecommunications, public policy, and management. He has over 34 years of experience and has held key roles in DOT, public sector undertakings, TRAI, and ISRO. Since September 2023, he has served as the DG of National Communications Academy, where he promotes innovation and excellence in telecommunications education and training. He is also a fellow at the Institution of Engineers, recognized for his significant contributions and expertise in the engineering field. I now invite Shri Dev Kumar Sir, Mr. Rajesh Kumar Soni, Mr. Ronak Maheshwari, Mr. Vivek Raina, Mr. Sumesh Srivastava, and Aruna Ma'am, and our Director General, Brigadier Anil Tandon, to please take a seat on the table. Before Sumesh starts his presentation, I request our Director General, Mr. Anil Tandon, to greet our chief guests, Mr. Dev Kumar and Mr. Rajesh Soni, with a bouquet.
Mr. Dev Kumar Chakrabarti.
Over to you, Sumesh.
ठीक है हेलो
Hello, testing, yeah. So very good afternoon to all of you, and before I begin, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to DG Shri Dev Kumar Chakrabarti sir, DDG Shri Rajesh Kumar Soni sir, Aruna Sundarajan ma'am, and Brigadier Tandon, and for everyone else present here today for taking out the time. And I would also like to thank BIF for organizing this significant event and providing us with this platform. I will try to keep my presentation short in the interest of time, and also in deference to the expertise already present in the room, I will not be going too much into the technical details, though I do invite all of you to go through the paper that we've written, and we'll be here to discuss some of the elements after. I vividly remember the first time I accessed the internet. My father had subscribed to Mantra Online, a service that I'm not sure exists anymore, but some of you might recall from the early days of India's internet journey. And the process was anything but simple. It involved connecting through dial-up, listening to the now iconic beeps and hisses. It was cumbersome, it was slow, it was expensive. But for me, it was a gateway to a world I'd never experienced before. And it was the internet, the first time I experienced it was a magical experience, right? It gave me access to so much information. I could communicate to people in different parts of the world, and it just opened a new realm of opportunities. Now, this personal experience underscores what internet and technology represent at their core. They are enablers, they open up access, they create opportunities, and they have the potential to significantly improve the quality of life. Now in India right now, as we've heard from so many of the distinguished speakers, we are at an inflection point. A lot of Indians have come online, especially in the last 5-10 years, but there's still a significant segment that remains unconnected. Even in the number of Indians which are currently online, as we've spoken about, we are currently a mobile-first nation, and while mobile internet has been the backbone, it's time we shift our focus to wireline broadband, because fiber offers unmatched reliability, limitless bandwidth, and seamless connectivity essential for remote work, online education, and SD streaming. And to truly unlock our digital potential and ensure no one is left behind, we must cultivate an inclusive internet ecosystem that emphasizes meaningful connectivity, going beyond basic access to provide reliable and affordable connections to everyone. Now, before I briefly take you all through some of the challenges that we are looking at, I would just briefly talk about some of the different layers which comprise digital infrastructure. So first, we have our backbone, which is your high-capacity fiber optic cables, both terrestrial and submarine. Then you have the middle mile, as Ronak spoke about. So you have your data centers, your CDNs, as well as your internet exchange points. And then, as Vivek spoke about, you have the last mile as well as the emerging technologies that are coming up now. Now, when we talk about internet access, it's not just about access. It's also about quality, it's about stability, it's about low latency, because these are vital for the use cases that are coming up right now and that are going to come up in the future. Yet, only 8% of our cities have internet exchange points. We have just 3 data centers per 10 million people, and we lag behind nations like US and China in terms of submarine cables. And these are things that we need to strengthen to really unlock India's full digital potential. And now I'll be briefly going through some of the challenges that we've looked at in our paper. Now again, as we've spoken about, India is a mobile-first nation, and being mobile-first has its advantages, but to truly advance, we need to really invest in fiberization. We need a robust network, and we need fiberization at the level that we are seeing in other developed countries. And this requires a huge amount of investment, and we've seen that the private sector has also played its part in putting in some of the money in the last decades, and we've seen government initiatives as well, like BharatNet, which have contributed to reducing this gap to a certain extent. But however, there is still a gap that remains, and there's still a massive amount of investment that is required to bridge this gap. And we feel that this underscores the need for clear, consistent, and conducive regulatory reforms to attract the same. Next, if I talk about limited rural broadband access, just a couple of statistics that I would like to point out here. So when we speak about internet density, it's only 45% in rural areas as compared to 112 in urban regions. And when we talk about wireline internet penetration, it's a mere 0.33% in rural communities versus around 6.4% in cities. And some of the factors which have widened this gap is also because some of the solutions that we proposed haven't really worked as well as they could have. So for example, PM Vani potentially could have revolutionized rural connectivity, but due to certain challenges, it's not really taken off. Local cable operators, like Vivek talked about a bit, local cable operators are well placed to provide last mile connectivity. They really know the end customers well. But there have been challenges due to regulation, due to the capital expenditure required, where that opportunity, we haven't really been able to enable that. And yeah, for the ISPs themselves, there are currently limited incentives that exist for them to enter rural and underserved areas where it doesn't make sense from a commercial perspective. Now, the next challenge that I want to talk about is obviously the frameworks for licensing and infrastructure sharing. And I think Ronak has already done an excellent job setting the context for that. So I'll just briefly sum it up, where currently the framework that exists is complex. We feel that it sometimes increases costs and delays investment and innovation. We are very encouraged by the legislative intent behind the Telecom Act, which at a very basic level talks about simplification and enabling the industry. And while we have been slightly worried about some of the recommendations that have come out which seem misaligned, we do feel that at least when the regulations come out, we hope that they will reflect the legislative intent given in the act as well. And coming to the sort of last challenge that we've looked at, so for any policy to work well and for us to measure progress, we need to have data, we need to have statistics. And while there are global indexes that exist, we feel that they do miss out on the specific context of India and what's happening in India. And the BRI was proposed, the Broadband Readiness Index was proposed in 2018, but due to operational challenges, it did not really take off. And we feel that there is a need to have India-specific metrics, India-specific indices to allow us to create policy in a better manner. So now, after briefly taking you all through some of the challenges that we've looked at, I'll be talking about what are the solutions that we are proposing, what are the recommendations that we feel should be taken up. So first of all, we are saying that we really need to expand CDNs, data centers, and IXPs, and not just in metro locations, but also to meet demand in remote areas, in underserved locations as well. We need supportive regulation, and we need to encourage infrastructure sharing for growth and efficiency. TRAI had come out with some great recommendations for incentive. We feel that those should be supported and those should be formalized. Ensuring open access to submarine cable landing stations and promoting domestic submarine cables are some of the things that we feel should be stressed. When we talk about fiberization, so for example, we've seen the new ROW rules have come out, and we've seen with every iteration of the ROW rules, there has been an incremental improvement, and we feel that there needs to be more awareness created at the district level, at the state level, so that there are faster approvals and the process moves in a more smoother manner. There should be PPPs among telcos, infrastructure providers, and government. There needs to be an investment in local solutions focused on rural connectivity via the TTDF, and encouraging collaboration for multiple landing points, as well as the utilization of the unutilized amount in the Digital Bharat Nidhi to look at targeted interventions in rural and underserved areas. When talking about last mile connectivity, some of the solutions that we are proposing is that in terms of PM Vani, reducing bandwidth costs, prioritizing satellite-based broadband, increasing awareness, empowering LCOs like we've spoken about, decoupling broadcast revenues from licensing, encouraging revenue sharing, incentivizing tier 2 and tier 3 ISPs. So we are saying for ISPs which are contributing to increasing rural subscriber growth, they need to be incentivized, encouraged, and rewarded in a certain manner. Enhancing common service centers, supporting local entrepreneurs, and providing meaningful connectivity. And to increase the pull factor in this area, we feel it's important to leverage local content, offer incentives for content in regional languages, incentives for gaming and education sectors. And most importantly, we feel that the time has come to treat home broadband as a utility, to treat it like we treat water, like we treat electricity, and prioritize digital infrastructure in buildings as well. In terms of creating an enabling regulatory environment, again, we feel like ease of doing business is something that needs a lot more focus. We need to encourage our entrepreneurs and innovators to provide solutions. So we are saying implement a transparent single window system. On a principal level, we strongly feel that licensing needs to be limited to only services that are using scarce resources, and everything else should be allowed to move to a more simpler and swifter online registration system. I've already spoken about the Telecom Act and how we are encouraged by the potential it provides, and we hope it's implemented reflecting the legislative intent behind it. And we also feel that comprehensive infrastructure sharing needs to be encouraged. And like I spoke about the BRI earlier, so if you'll see in our paper, there is a detailed digital readiness index that we are proposing, which we see as a standardized assessment tool, which will evaluate metrics across policy, infrastructure, and connectivity, providing state-wise and LSA-wise metrics. And we feel that this overcomes some of the limitations of the BRI and will provide policymakers as well as industry the granular insights that you really need to create a good policy in a regulatory environment. And finally, I would like to leave you all with 3 thoughts in terms of the collective vision that we are looking to present here. So first, as Ronak spoke, urgency. There is an urgent need to accelerate fixed broadband infrastructure to close the digital divide. We do not have 10, 15, 20 years anymore. This is something that we need to approach with speed and urgency. The potential and excitement that the Telecom Act and the legislative intent behind it provides in terms of simplifying regulations and boosting digital inclusion. So urgency, potential, and togetherness. I feel that now the time has come for people, for all of the different entities, all of the different stakeholders to come together, to work in a collaborative manner, to work together and to work at scale, so that we can ensure that fixed broadband becomes accessible, reliable, and affordable to all Indians. And with these thoughts, I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sumesh, for the excellent presentation. I think I speak for everybody when I say we all were reminded of the first time we accessed internet. We all look forward to sharing and reading this report further. I now invite Mr. Rajesh Kumar Soni, DDG, DOT, Ministry of Communications, to provide the special address.
Respected Madam Aruna Sundrajanji, respected Deep Kumar Chakrabarti sir, distinguished members of the industry on the dais and off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be present with you for the release of the paper on digital infrastructure investing with the future for a Viksit Bharat. Today, internet is absolutely essential for everybody, to the rich and poor, young and old. Internet has eased our life to a great extent. Gone are the days when we had to wait for even telephone connection for 4 to 5 years. Then we moved to internet in 1995, when we used to have shell accounts and TCP/IP accounts, and where the speed was only 28.8 kilobits per second, and you could only transfer minimum amount of data. And there was practically no digital world at that time. And then gradually we moved to 3G, where we could have video conferencing and we could have internet available to us. And with the advent of 4G, typically in around 2012-13, when some of the operators started the 4G, we started experiencing high data rate, and it was really transformative from that point of time, that the industry started looking at the applications part of it, that is the kind of home delivery systems we have, like Amazon and all. And like if you want to today, even at 10 o'clock, some things to be delivered at your home, those things can get delivered at 10 minutes of time, Zepto and all. I mean, there has been a lot of transformation which has happened over the period of time, and government has been very much proactive in their policies. Otherwise, these things would not have happened. I remember in times when there was 32 rupees per minute call was there for mobile network, and today practically you don't have to pay for voice calls, whereas only for the data calls you have to pay. Now that is the the government has taken proactive steps so far as the evolution of mobile network is concerned, and with the data also. Now we are in 5G, and we just experienced the rollout of 5G. Although it is still, there are still a lot of regulatory changes which are required to be done, and to which the Department of Telecommunication is looking into it. And so far as the, so maybe you can call it EMF norms, or maybe you can call it the testing procedures and other things. So there is a lot of revolution. I mean, there is a lot of thought process which is going on in the DOT, and maybe with the coming times we'll have a greater 5G network rollout, and with the kind of speed which you want, so that your batteries do not drain actually too fast, because at present because of the distance between the sites, what happens is that you do not get that much kind of signal in your mobile handsets. And with the regulatory reforms which we are looking at with the industry, I think we will have a better 5G rollout. Now, typically about the bridging of digital divide, I would like to first I would like to address what Mr. Ronak was mentioning as about the rules. Actually, now the rules are being framed in India, and it is no longer going to be license-based authorizations. It will be rule-based authorizations. So that would, I think, simplify a lot to the requirement of the industry. Now, let me look at the, I mean, at Delhi, when I used to sit and formulate the policies, I used to, I do not have much idea about what is happening in the field. And we always used to say there is no work in LSA. But when I had time to go and see in Tripura and in Manipur, when I went there, and I saw that what is the impact of the policies which are happening. So initially, I mean, in Tripura, we had 10% of, around 10 to 15% of villages which are not having even voice connectivity. So the first priority of the DOT was to make sure that there is voice connectivity available at least in those villages. And then we started developing reports about the places where there is 3G connectivity, but there is no 4G connectivity. So we started giving those reports to DOT and DOT headquarters, and DOT headquarters, I think, is working on them to provide 4G connectivity in all the villages. Now, coming to the, apart from that, we have border area development programs in which the border areas with our Jawans which are posted over there, they may not have mobile connectivity even for voice, because I personally went to some of those areas and I found that there was no mobile connectivity. But then we have started those programs in which we are collecting the reports, and very soon maybe we'll be able to provide the mobile connectivity. So there is, and about the ROW part of it, now one of the essential part of any 5G rollout was that of ROW. Now, I mean, I recall the times when I was in Northeast, and I found that there used to be a lot of VC calls being made from headquarters, which are headed by secretary itself, and he used to sit for the entire day on the VC calls and to instruct the state governments to implement the ROW policies and the policies which can make the 5G rollout much easier actually. So government has been trying its best to see that the things do roll out, and now presently we have I mean, the government has been, maybe some of you may say that it is slow, not slow, but government has been trying to simulate, to really accelerate the 5G, 4G and whatever kinds of technologies which are going to come up, and government has been, I think, friendly towards industry. So I must say that, and now we have set up 5G labs also. 100 5G labs have been set across the country actually by support of good government, where the government is giving 80% support to the institutions. And with those 5G labs, one of them was in Tripura also, where I visited. It's a place where the students can do innovation, and I mean that's going to be very useful. About submarine cables, actually, most of you must be aware that there have been recommendations, and we are working on the submarine cables to have even domestic connectivity between the two cities by submarine cables, and also on many other recommendations. With these words, I thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your address. Ladies and gentlemen, we now proceed to the release of the report. I request the dignitaries on stage, as well as Mr. Umang Das, who Chief Coordinator of Standing Committee Chairman, and Mr. S.N. Gupta, Treasurer, BIF, to please open the report in front of them and stand together for a photograph.
I'd like to also invite on stage Mawash Fatima and Swati Rao from the Quantum Hub to also come, because they've contributed a lot to the preparation of this white paper. Over, back to you, please.
I now invite our chief guest, Shri Deb Kumar Chakrabarti, to provide the keynote address.
A very good afternoon to everybody. Our respected ma'am, Ms. Aruna Sundarajan, former Secretary Telecom of Department of Telecom and the chairperson of this BIF. Sri T.V. Ramachandran, the president of BIF. Sri R.K. Soni, DDGCS, Department of Telecom. Distinguished members from the Exitel and Extreme Labs. Brigadier Anil Tandon, DG BIF, other esteemed guests from the government and the industry, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm really, truly honored to be here at this event organized by BIF for the release of the paper, Digital Infrastructure, the Investing into the Future for a Viksit Bharat. And my heartiest congratulations to the Broadband India Forum for addressing this vital topic. In fact, this particular topic is a very much near to our heart as well. Our heart, I mean the National Communication Academy, because the next 5 years telecom policy, the NDCP 2025, for the period 2025 to 30. NCA has been entrusted with the responsibility to come up with a draft policy paper. We are working on that, and up to a large extent we have progressed, and we have been doing the stakeholder consultations, both internal, external, and all the players will be definitely discussing in the process. And by this year end itself, we want to submit the first preliminary draft report to the government. So this is one of the very vital and very interesting topic that always we discuss in the form that Broadband for All, BFA. And very interestingly, I want to inform you that we also have a center of excellence named CBBPIR, the Center for Broadband Proliferation in Rural Areas, under the aegis of National Communication Academy. And the role of that particular center of excellence is also almost the same with the work that you have done over here. In fact, I do understand up to a large extent the areas of interest, areas of work of the BIF as well as our center of excellence are coinciding and coterminous. See, one of the finest learning of the governments over the last 2 decades or so is the realization the government cannot do many things alone. And so better travel the path which is collaborative and doing it together. Instead of trying to do many things alone, it's better to try together in a collaborative way. And that is exactly, you might be feeling you might be seeing the stakeholder consultation, the stakeholder engagement, all these processes has been brought in by the government. I request the chairperson of BIF, ma'am, we can also come forward for working together, both BIF and our Center of Excellence, CBBPIR, particularly to ensure that broadband for all, it happens very fast in our country. In fact, before we discuss about the contents of the book and contents of this particular report, I just want to explain actually how do we visualize the broadband in the government setup. So everybody now says broadband is the new oil. No doubt it is the new oil, and we understand that this is one of the finest public goods of this millennium, and which needs to be distributed equitably to each and every citizen of the country. Should not be concentrated to the cities and the important areas of commercial interest. It should be taken down to the farthest part of the country where the privileged, underserved people are basically living over there. The number 2 is broadband in India is seen not just as a connectivity tool. In many countries, they understand broadband means a faster speed, a better connectivity to internet. But in our country, in addition to that, it is viewed as a tool for inclusion. It's a tool for digital inclusion. It's a tool for social inclusion. And as a whole, you get connected with the whole country. And in turn, this broadband, it brings in the democratization over the entire societal structure among the entire country, and maybe among the entire world. So it is one of the must offer public good by every nation to its own citizen. Number 3 important issue, see, there is a growing understanding all over the world now that the country which is going to become the next superpower is not that country which will be the highest economic power or the highest military power. The understanding now is that the country which leads the digital technology, the digital innovation, and empowers its all the citizens digitally is possibly going to become the next superpower in the world. And the race is on now. Now it's not I think initially we thought that very soon we will be becoming a superpower by around 2030, 2032. We are going to become the second most powerful, economically powerful nation. Militarily, we are almost the second in the world now. But it's not going to be so easy now. The races, the goalpost has been now made something different. Along with these two, we require to champion the cause of the digital and digital innovation, and more importantly, empowering every citizen into the digital domain. Number 4, when only we talk of the provision of the services and giving an opportunity to the people to get included or to get a better quality service, it is equally important to look into that there is a mission called India at the rate 2030. Means by 2030 we want to become a global leader of the technology in the entire world. We want to become a major export nation of the technology and almost cutting down the imports to zero. So whenever we talk about this infrastructure, it should not be limited to only the provision and reaching it out to everybody. It should be incorporated equally that how fast we are going to bring the manufacturing in the country. And we become a major manufacturing hub in this particular technology, be an export nation, and reduce the import to zero by around 2030. So that's also equally an important mission along with that. Number 5, the global best, or at part the global, at part the best in the globe concept. See, very interestingly, even a note has been issued by the government that if you want to submit even a cabinet note, now you have to mention how this is, whether this is the global best, or how this particular idea will take India to the best in the globe, and how it is going to contribute our journey towards the Viksit Bharat. These are very significant changes which is coming in the governmental setup of working. It's very important because it makes us not only physically, even mentally oriented towards that. The time has come for India now to talk of the global leadership. We have arrived, and now we have to show our prowess to the world that we are the global leader in technology. So being in telecom department, I only will talk of this technology and other things, but as a whole. But when government talks, it talks about the multifaceted contribution or multifaceted contributions that a nation has. And finally, of course, the point number 6 I want to talk is, everybody knows that India at the rate 2047. We have the national aspiration now to become a developed nation by 2047. The way things are going, it may happen even faster than that, but what it requires, that all of us, we come together, collaborate, contribute, and make it faster. I was listening to the before inauguration of that, a brief about this particular report. What basically I understood that you want to put a significant trust in the wireline broadband communication. See, if you see into the policies, the government policies are always agnostic. It doesn't stop anything. But possibly you are looking for whether there is a special impetus for that. Possibly you are looking for something whether the government is trying to make that particular stream more important than the other sectors. Other sector means other sub-wings of that. Sub-wings like mobile broadband. See, when the country is yet to achieve 100% broadband penetration, it is yet to reach even to a significant part of the population. And by the time the COVID came, the nation as a whole has understood that what we have missed actually. A major part of the students, they could not be brought into the network of the study at all during that time because the broadband facility was not available to many of them. Now the government wants to encourage each and everything. You talked about the supply side, government wants to talk even of the demand side. And I'll now mention few of the things. See, understanding from our side is that it requires a holistic approach. Not only the word broadband should be promoted or should be promulgated more. It should be everywhere. And this push has to come from technological side, from the demand side, from the citizen side, and even from the supply side. The first understanding is very important, that let there be a choice of technology. Let's not limit the technology, that is the way we would like to reach our 10% of the population. Limiting down to a technology, it will further delay the process. That's exactly when our Center of Excellence, they are working, they are propagating many ways, many technological ways how this can be achieved. In fact, they are talking of a new technology called centralized Wi-Fi and how it can contribute. I mean, it is a bit different than the PM1E. How this can be superimposed into the available network and some more penetration, a few miles more it can go, the broadband can be given and all those things. Those concepts have been shown over there. Another important thing that we understand is that almost 39% of the people in the rural areas, they are not connected to the broadband service because they do not have a device. They do not have a smartphone device. You require a smartphone. So there is a concept that we are trying to appreciate through the policy also. We are trying to give a push, is the refurbished telephone. You might be having something in your house like the washing machines. We might have purchased at a cost of 40,000, but by the time if you want to resale after 2 years or so, they are not going to give you more than 1,500 or 1,000 rupees. Something very similar to that. Because technology is changing and people, they're running after that. If it is iPhone 14 this year, I want a 14 this year. Next year, if it is iPhone 16, I want a 16 the next year. Like that, the human things are there. It always likes newer things to happen. And many of the smartphones are basically lying unused, getting scrapped without not being sold. We understand this particular smartphones, if it is given a better longevity with some replacement of the equipments or by a bit of retrofitting, if you can upgrade it to a workable condition, and if you can sell it to the common people at a cost of around 1,500 to 2,000 rupees, then even in the rural areas, a significant part of those population who are outside the broadband purview today, they can join your network and can get the benefit of that. So the refurbished telephone itself, I mean, it can open up another 20%, you can reach another 20% of those uncovered sections. Now, a new concept also we are looking at, like a community ownership. So for always we have been looking that networks and etc., it has to be with the billionaires like him and like him. Why it should be with them only? Why a small community with some 200 families, they can't own the small network over there? Who understands more about the importance of broadband because their own children will be studying through this network? These are all possible. These are all possible, only that we need to approach them, to sensitize them, and to tell them how to form a community, how to how to own a particular small network within that community which will be giving the best of the services. Once broadband has entered, once they have got into the light, possibly next time they will teach the others. We need not have to be there. Okay. And the fourth important point, why not satellite phones? If Elon Musk can give you, why we can't give that? In fact, we are much better in a position than if Elon Musk, if he's doing in USA or so, because we have the volume of business. If $30 is the rate, and if millions of subscribers are available for that, even broadband through the satellite is also an option. So what I want to mean, so there are many options, there is no limit, and let us not set also a limit. Every step you take towards any one of the direction, it will be giving you an incremental add up to the system. You will be able to add up maybe 10 million more. 10 million more by every time you change and introduce something new. That is one of the concepts that we will try to highlight in the policies to come in the future. I saw that Digital Readiness Index you are trying is a very, very important initiative. In fact, we have started late and we are doing it state-wise. I've seen that the TFRU unit in the Department of Telecom, they have made a listing of that, how the states are positioned as per the Digital Readiness Index. And you'll be surprised to see what we understand some of the best known states for development and etc. They are not there. I mean, it is something very different. So what I want to mean, we have missed the bus, but at least we have started now. And by the time we started now the time for the state is over. Now it is time to come down to the districts. And now, what good it can be done, you just look into the Japanese economy during the Meiji period, during 1960s and 70s. What it did actually, technology was pushed down to the small cities, young entrepreneurs came up, and then everybody started producing. There was a huge challenge within themselves to survive, to produce the best. And that's how today Japan is the world leader in technology. All contribution to that, the sowing of the seed during the Meiji period, intense competition in the domestic market. And that is exactly where here also it is going to happen. Let us give a readiness index up to each of the districts. And let us see that, and let the district play their larger role in the country or even abroad. The districts, there are many districts which might be generating a GDP which are equivalent to many of the smaller countries in the world. So the time has come now. In our country, we recognize the potential of the districts. And coming down from the state to the district, give that opportunity, open up that. And I think if we are doing that study, it should be done on a regular basis. The Digital Readiness Index and DOT will definitely, it will be very happy to accept this type of surveys or the studies that you will be doing. And I mean, if you require some other supports and etc., you are always welcome to approach us for this particular thing. Because we are really working on this DRI, or initially it was BRI, now it is the Digital Readiness Index. I think it's time to work together and give a further push at the level of the districts now. I'll finish my talk over here, but my indebtedness will remain to the Broadband India Forum. You have invited me, given an opportunity to talk and discuss and share my views with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful address. We all hope as well that we reach this goalpost of making India a fully digitally empowered nation and more frequent digital readiness index in place. Ladies and gentlemen, we now reach the end of the session. I now invite Brigadier Anil Tandon, DG Broadband India Forum, to provide the vote of thanks.
Distinguished dignitaries on the dais, Shri Dev Kumar Chakrabarti, DG National Communications Academy, Shri Rajesh Kumar Soni, DDG Carrier Services DOT, Madam Aruna Sundarajan, Chairperson of Broadband India Forum, Shri Ronak Maheshwari, Executive Director, Extreme Labs, Shri Vivek Raina, CEO Excitel, Shri Sumesh Srivastav, Senior Manager in the Quantum Hub, Debashish, distinguished guests, delegates from the industry, government, academia, professional institutions, members from the media, ladies and gentlemen. We come to the end of this function to mark the release of the BIF report on digital infrastructure, Road to a Viksit Bharat. It's my honor and privilege to extend a vote of thanks to all our esteemed speakers, guests, government dignitaries, friends from the media, and valued attendees. Let me begin by first thanking our chief guest, Shri Dev Kumar Chakravarti. Sir, we would wish to thank you for taking time out of extremely busy schedule. We understand that the last 10 days or more than that have been so busy with you for the IMC, WTSA and all that. And I also, when I went to invite you, I came to know that you're leaving, going out of the city tomorrow. So thank you very much for having found time to come and delivering the keynote address. Whatever you've said, it's been very, to come to know what the government's new thought processes. We knew that, and the other futuristic ideas that you come out with, I'm sure that the draft of the NDCP 2025 that is coming out from the NCA as a draft to the government would be a wonderful one, and we'll look forward to something which would be good for the country to really make it a Viksit Bharat by 2047. It was very heartening to note that you realize, or you feel that the goals, the aims of the Broadband India Forum are quite synchronous with what the goals of the National Communications Academy, as well as you call that broadband proliferation for all, the committee that is there. So we have had the occasion to be a speaker at one of your events in this March or April, and we look forward to continued cooperation with you. A request that you made to the madam, and I assure you, ma'am, that we continue to have greater cooperation with them. And of course, something that we've been wanting for a long time, which is there in the NDCP 2018, which was what you call the BRI, but somehow has not happened. But hearing you say about the DRI, I hope it will really form part of the, and implemented in the part of the DCP 2025. Next, sir, Rajesh Kumar Soni, sir. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us again and release this report. And you also enlighten us on your insights on role and importance of the digital infrastructure and what the government is planning to do in this regard. You talked of the submarine cable. I think, as you know, we had a presentation in the stakeholders committee. Mr. T.V. Ramachandran gave the talk, and we are interacting with you more on that, and we would continue to do that. We are also planning an event dedicated toward the subsea cables. We look forward to your support in that. Many thanks to Ronak Maheshwari, ED Extreme Labs, for your, other than taking the time out, but for your most passionate views. In fact, I would say that to both Vivek, Raina, as well as to you, that the passion was so great in the fireside chat that I think it was very interesting to go through that. And for you to, Ronak, having brought out what was the legislative intent and your view whether really it is being followed or not is something for the government to look into. Thank you, Vivek. And I think your points about how we should need to, how we will be able to expand the broadband to be, and the fiber to more and more, the way you said, it'll help us to accelerate. Your views are very good on this, I would say. And obviously, at the end, I would like to thank the team of Quantum Hub, led by Sumay Srivastav, my wife Fatima, and Swati Rao, for helping put together this excellent report over the course of last few months. I would also like to thank our media partners, Communication Today, and all members of the BF Directorate, who have worked tirelessly for contributing to the making of this report and making this event a success. I think we have another, I don't know if he's still here, Mr. Shashidharan, who's our standard partner for the Bharat exhibition. Thank him also for all the support and having come here. On that positive note, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to declare this short event to a close, and request and invite all of you for a lunch. Thank you.
I request Mr. Atul Jain also to join us on stage for the group photograph, please. Thank you. and Mawash and Swati Rao as well.